Greetings and welcome to week 6 of Introduction to Law Enforcement. Almost halfway there. Next week will be halfway, and we'll be working on the midterm test. Next week will be the biggie for next week. Biggie for this week is constitutional law. Really a great chapter, a great subject. It's a fun one to sink your teeth into. Next year, if you're in the justice program, next year we'll be offering a full 15 weeks on constitutional law instead of just this little 1 week snippet introduction this week. But good class. We'll be working mostly on the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendments. We'll be interested in arrest and search and seizure and interrogations and those kind of issues. Anybody that's grown up on the last 37 years or however long it's been on of Law and Order will recognize a lot of what we're discussing this week. I can remember, way back in the Jurassic era again, probably when I was in the academy and we were studying fruits of the poisonous tree, and it was kind of a new concept back then of what goes wrong when we don't follow the rules that are laid down for us. And now, like I say, it's on TV every week, so you're going to be very familiar with some of these things. Couple of things. Participation in the discussion board is crashing and burning. The first week we had 14 participants. Last week we had 7. So participation in the discussion board is important. It's where you get to discuss things with your classmates. It's where you get to bounce ideas off them and they bounce ideas off you. It's the equivalent of sitting in the classroom and discussing what's going on. So it's important you participate. It's a pretty good chunk of the grade. So please jump in. Post early, post often. It's a neat. We need it to get our understanding. So jump into the discussion board, figure out what's going on. 2, I'm going to change the writing the discussion board topic just a little bit this week. I wanted you to discuss, and I've mentioned it a couple times, put it in the announcement, I put it in the syllabus, and I want to finesse it a little bit more because I don't want to make it too big of a bite to chew off in just a week. What I was looking for originally was Alaska's unique rules. There are some things that we do up here because of our Constitution different than they do in most other states, and I wanted you to find that. I'm going to finesse that a little bit and change that a little bit. It could be a lot to try to figure out, well, what does everybody else do and what do we do that's different? I've put a couple of links on the announcement page to the legal bulletins that the state puts out to keep us up on the latest court decisions. Go to those links, read those decisions, read those rules that they put out, and if you can't necessarily figure out what we do that's different up here, grab one that's just interesting to you, and let's just talk about, gee whiz, I didn't know this, or gee whiz, this seems wrong or something. As you go through, there's some neat court decisions for things that we face every day on the street. For instance, let's say you make a traffic stop. And you go up and you get the driver's license from the driver and you're talking to the driver, and while you're talking to the driver, the passenger in the passenger seat opens up the door and runs off. Can you do anything about that? Is the passenger also stopped when you stop a vehicle? Is he under your control? The courts have had some interesting things to say about that up here, so that'd be something interesting, if you bump into it, kind of discuss. Secondly, let's say you're out on patrol doing something, you're walking around and you're following up or you're doing something, and you see somebody you want to talk to, and you say, hey, you come over here a second, I need to talk to you. Well, the courts have ruled, and you'll find this if you look through it, that when you do that, if that person isn't free to go, or if he doesn't think he's free to go, you've just made a detention. You've just detained him. And the courts have ruled that, the definition of an arrest is detaining somebody. They're not free to go. So if you are out and about and you need to talk to somebody and you say, hey, you come here a second, and that person thinks he's not free to go, you just made an arrest. Well, one of the rules out there says you can't make an arrest without probable cause to do so. So how does this ruling jive with the real world? How do you bump into people? How do you talk to people? How do you interview people um, in a manner that they don't think they're not free to go if they're not? Um, so you don't make an arrest without probable cause, which is a fairly serious thing. So what do the courts say about that? So there's some real world examples as you read through these cases. That's exactly what they are. They'll set it up. They'll say, so and so and so and so are officers at Bethel PD, and they had to go to a house to investigate such and they'll set up a real live situation that happened, and what the court said about what happened. So if you can't find things that are unique to Alaska and different than anywhere else, just find stuff that's interesting. Just in your discussion, say, geez, I read through these and I found where Kotzebue did this, and I always thought you could do that, but now the courts say you can't. So just put some interesting stuff in there. So participate in the discussion board. Like I said, post early, post often, and I think it'll be a good week.